I am the Crazy Cat Lady and I read books, and this video is all about me reading Christmas books. So basically what I've done is I've looked at my bookshelf, I've gone on the Kindle, I've gone on audiobooks and gone on to Goodreads, looked at the descriptions. It had to say Christmas in the description, and I've chosen some books, and I didn't realise quite how many I had read. I have read, I think, 17 books. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. The first book I read was The Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. I only had it on Kindle, and if you know The Maid, it is like the 2.5, the novella after the second book basically, and it's about Molly and a secret little mystery around the Christmas time. It's obviously a novella, it's quite short, I read it within a couple of hours. Molly, if you've read The Maid, is quite straightforward. I don't know if you'd say she's autistic or kind of that way inclined. You know, 1 + 1 is 2. That's how she sees it. That's how she says let me say that again. That is how she sees things, and that is how she says things. I actually really like Molly as a character. I think she's a great character, and the novella is obviously centred around this mystery at Christmas time. I did really enjoy reading it. The only thing I would say is it's not really a mystery. Not really. It's quite obvious what is happening in the book, and it is nice. It's a nice little Christmassy novella. And if you like the series, I would recommend you read it. I obviously really liked reading it, and I actually really like everything I've read of Nita Prose's so far. So yeah, I would recommend reading it if you've read the series. So I think I gave The Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose a 3. Obviously that's still a good rating. It's quite hard for novellas to get quite high because they're usually quite short. There's not a lot of depth to them, and I think that's a fair rating for this book. The next book I read was actually a physical book. I think I've had it on my bookshelf for quite a while. The 12 Dates of Christmas. The funny thing is, as a rule, I don't tend to read Christmas books. I tend to watch maybe Christmas movies around Christmas time, but not necessarily Christmas books. I don't know why. But obviously I've decided to do it for you guys in case you are into the Christmas books. And I think the amount I've read, I think I've had enough of them after this. But anyway, The 12 Dates of Christmas by Lisa Dickinson is focused on Claudia. It's basically what happens is at the start, her and her partner have kind of lost a bit of the intimacy, the romance in their relationship, and she wants to get the romance back. He doesn't. And it kind of falls apart essentially, and so she kind of decides to go on dates with some random people, someone she knows, and that's kind of the premise of the story. Now I would say this wasn't my favourite book, I'll be perfectly honest, because my expectation was she went on 12 different dates, and that's not quite what happens. She mostly goes on dates with this one person, and yeah, that kind of ruined it slightly for me, because I was like expecting it to be quite comical, going with all these different men, well, people, and you know, the capers that you get on with meeting random people, and there is an element of that, but because she mostly goes on dates with this one person, it's like, it's not really dating. She goes on a dates with a couple of people, and then, you know, she goes on a date with someone she knows already. So Yeah, it wasn't quite what I expected, is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. And what I would say as well, she wasn't my favourite character, and the person she then goes on to date is not my favourite character. She's fine, but a bit fickle. He's not kind of like my favourite romantic male kind of character. I mean, he's quite crass, and he tells her to shut up her face quite a few times, and although it's said in jest, I don't know, it kind of rubs me up the wrong way. So yeah, wasn't my favourite book, weren't my favourite characters, wasn't quite what I was expecting, and I rated it a 2.75. The next one I read was Fairy Tale of New York by Miranda Dickinson. Again, I think I've had this on my shelf for a little while. It's to do with Rosie. She has a florist shop in New York, and she's got like a big secret, and she's really good friends with her two workers. She's the boss with her two workers, but she hasn't told them about her past, and it's like a huge secret. They are, everyone in her life really is trying to say, it's been, let's say 6 years, I can't quite remember, I think it's 6 years. It's been 6 years, you know, you don't really go on dates, I think you should go on a date. She meets someone that has potential, and it's kind of like, I don't know how to word this. There is romance in it. I think it's quite obvious who she's going to go for even from the start. For example, I know when a character, a male character in particular, is called a commitment phobe, that's probably going to be the one she ends up with, because obviously he's commitment phobic to everyone else apart from the main character. That's how it tends to be the theme, I think, personally anyway. So anyway, there's this person that that she meets, and there's a possibility it's going to go somewhere. Her business starts getting more business. Her business, you know, uptakes a bit, and it's kind of about that as well. So it's not always focused on the romantic side. However, I started listening to this on audio, and I have to admit I couldn't get into it, and I don't think it's the book's fault, the audio fault. I didn't take it in, so I had to physically read it from the book, and then obviously I got into it a bit more. But it wasn't my favourite book. I wasn't overly bothered. I wasn't overly bothered with the romantic person that she ends up with. I mean, he's perfectly fine. But again, it's, you know, it's kind of, I personally don't think it's like a sweeping romance. He's not for me. And also, she has this big secret. Well, just tell people. Why have you kept it a secret for 6 years? It's nothing to be ashamed of, and that kind of irritated me, I'll be perfectly honest. But anyway, so the rating I gave this was 2.75. Yeah, it wasn't my favourite, so there. The next one was Kiss Me Under the Mistletoe by Fiona Harper. I think this is the first book I've read from hers, but I do read another one in this actual video. And this is to do with ex-wag Louise. And basically at the start, she discovers that her husband has cheated on her. She did have suspicions in the past, but she didn't find out for sure. She has found it for sure this time, and she says goodbye to him, and she moves to this a bit out of the way house, and it's kind of that is the book, her moving to this place. But there's also kind of like a second story where she finds the previous owner's diary, and I quite liked that. I liked the different second plot along, and I liked the diary of Laura, who was the previous owner. Now he's not exactly the gardener, but he is. The gardener, Ben, did some gardening work for Laura, the previous owner. So he really likes the house, and there's like a pool house and the garden and stuff. So he did work for Laura. So he's got a bit of a tie to the house. And that's kind of where these two meet, and that's how the story starts. I did really like this. I really liked the writing of it. However, I did think, again, for me, Ben didn't really put himself out there, I don't think. And with a romance, I like the man to kind of put his all into it. And I kind of feel like I didn't quite get that with the male character here. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked the writing. I was surprised. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did. But yeah, I wasn't completely rooting for Ben as a romance. I mean, he was perfectly fine. He wasn't horrible or anything like that. He was a very nice chap. It's just, can I say chap? Is that really English? It's just, yeah, it wasn't quite sweepy enough for me. Sweep the lady off your feet, you know. It was more kind of a gentle romance. Yeah, and although there's great places, there's great books where a gentle romance is great, for me it didn't quite swing it for me. So I rated it a 3.5, which again is a good rating, but I did prefer others, essentially. Okay, the next one I read was on the Kindle. I can't remember whether I bought it, but that doesn't matter. I read it on the Kindle. Inner Holidays by Christina Lauren. I've read The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren before. Did really like the book. This one, the premise is Mei Lin. They always go, her family, her and extended family, they go to this kind of, I think it's a log cabin. You know, they have loads of traditions, and it sounds like a really nice place to go with your extended family and chosen friends, family, if you know what I mean. But at the start of it, what happens is she she kisses one of these brothers, and she really regrets it because actually she fancies the other brother. And they stay there. The people who own the cabin actually say, we're thinking of selling the place, and on the way back, basically Mei Lin and her whole family get into an accident, and then she kind of wakes up on the plane back where they started their journey. So she's missed out. Well, no, not missed out, that's not right. She's basically gone back in time to before the holiday at this log cabin started. And this keeps happening. You know, she keeps having an accident, whatever it is. Like, I think one was a car crash, which is, you know, for a Christmassy book, I'm not sure. It's not quite the happy vibes you expect in a Christmassy book. But anyway, so when it's going to restart, she keeps being involved in these accidents, and that's how you know that the day, well, it's not a day, it starts off, let's say, the 21st of December, and it keeps going back to that day where she's on the plane. My voice is going. Okay, so that's essentially the premise of the book. What I would say about it is I couldn't really get into this book. I was a bit disappointed because I quite like the groundhoggy ones if they're done right. For me, I couldn't get behind it. I didn't really get why she fancied the chap that she fancied, and I don't know whether it was because I was threw off at the start. She obviously kissed the brother, and I was like, oh no, she, you know, she'll probably get with him. She fancies less. I think the brother, the one she fancies is called Andrew. I can't remember what the other brother is called, to be honest. But I was like, I know she fancies Andrew, but actually she snogged him, and maybe she ends up realising she does fancy the other brother. And I think perhaps my mind was like, well, she's going to go back to him anyway. Because there wasn't anything wrong with Andrew, but also at the same time, I never got the vibe that he was that into Mei Lin. And obviously you've got to have a male character who's really into the female character, from my point of view, you know, romance. And I just didn't get that feeling from Andrew. So yeah, I couldn't get behind this one. I wasn't overly enamoured by the rest of the book either. I would say it is a very Christmassy feel to the book. Yeah, it wasn't a bad book, just I personally couldn't get into it. I think I rated it a 3.25. Again, still a good rating, just, yeah, for me, just couldn't get behind the romance side of it, and that was kind of the main, well, I'd say there's two different themes. One is the romance, and two is they're worried about the people selling the log cabin, and, you know, I just couldn't get behind the romance part, basically, which is a bit of a shame. So the next one I read was The Christmas Wish by Lindsay Kelk. I have read I Heart, the I Heart series. I don't know if I've read them all. I have them all, and I want to reread them because I don't think I've read the last few in the series. But the ones I did read, I really enjoyed. And it reminded me, when I read this book, of Lindsay's humour in books, and I really like it. I can really get behind her humour in the book. So The Christmas Wish is Gwen and her family, and how it starts is she's just been broken up with by her boyfriend, I think it is, and so she goes for Christmas to her family, and basically, again, it's a groundhog situation. I think it's only within the 24 hours as well, so it's literally, it starts straight back up when she goes to sleep. She wakes up, it's Christmas Day each time. And again, it's quite tricky with groundhog ones to be interesting, because you've got to start the same way sort of every time, and the same things happen sort of every time. Not with this book, and I'm really pleased to say that, and I was very surprised by the book. Essentially, like I said, she kind of wakes up every day, and there's the potential romance is with one of her neighbours, essentially, and they kind of knew each other when they were a bit younger, and then he moved away for university, I think it was, and they didn't really keep in touch. But there are obviously other elements of the book and comedic capers in regards to her, like, ex-boyfriend. Yeah, I don't want to say too much about it, but let's just put it like this. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. I really liked the book. I really liked the humour. I could get behind the romance of this one. Yeah. I liked Gwen. Again, liked her humour. The potential romance was Dev, her former neighbour. And he just seems like such a sweet guy, but not the boring kind. You know, the chap who can kind of go along with your craziness, and he's just a really nice chap. And I know that sounds really boring, but I can't quite put into words. He's just a really, I don't want to say fun chap, because that makes it out like he's a bit crazy out there. He more goes along with Gwen's little capers, and I really liked that, but he also obviously improved on them. Really liked the book. I rated it a 4.75. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because I'm not sure I'd read it again, and that's kind of my bar for a 5, is I will go back and read this at some point. I'm not saying I won't, but I don't think I will. But I would really recommend you read this one. It's very Christmassy. I liked the romance, I liked the comedy, I liked the humour. Yeah, I'd recommend you pick this one up. Okay. Right, so what was next? I don't have a book. It's Snowed In at the Cat Cafe. I got it on the Kindle. Got it because it's about Christmas. And there is a cat. Well, there's more than one cat. It's essentially the main character gets employed, I think her name's Emmy. The main character gets employed at this cat cafe. I think her aunt owns it, beg your pardon. And also Jared has just been employed as a driver for the cat cafe. Now he's got a bit of a secret, and that comes into play further on down the line in the book. Emmy is a really sunshiny character. I really liked her. I liked, she was into art and stuff like that, and I liked that in the book. And I really did get the Christmassy vibe in this one. There was forced proximity, kind of, there's like a blizzard, and Emmy, Jared and someone else kind of gets trapped in the cat cafe, and the cats, obviously the cats are there. And I really got the Christmassy vibe from this one. I got the cat vibe from this one. The only thing I wasn't overly enamoured by is the secret that Jared had is just so silly. It's so silly. And you're like, well, why would you keep that a secret? Just say. And it really annoys me in books about that. Like, if it's just like a small little thing and it's blown up in over proportion, it's kind of like, yeah, okay. But anyway, I did like the book. Like I said, I really got a really Christmassy feel. The forced proximity, I liked the fact they were kind of stuck in this cat cafe over Christmas, and there's loads of snow, and you know, there are other things obviously as well that there were issues with. There are, I don't know if I'd say they're trigger warnings, but there are some scenes, I guess you'd call it. There are some scenes that you might find upsetting if you are that way in regards to pets. Let's put it like that. They may upset you. And I don't know if I like those in... No, I know I don't like those. I don't know why I say I don't think I like them. I don't like reading about stuff like that in books. It's the one thing that will really, really upset me, amongst other things, obviously. But yeah, when a pet or an animal gets hurt, I really don't like it. It really upsets me. So there's your warning. But I did really like this book, but it wasn't like a 5-star for me. I think I rated it a 3. But yeah, I would recommend this one if you want like a Christmassy feel with cats, forced proximity. I did like that. Okay, so the next one I got was Christmas at the Cat Cafe by Jessica Redland. Do you see a theme from the last one? Cat Cafe, obviously that's what sold it to me. I find this really funny. Her name's Tabitha, shortened to Tabby, and her nickname is Tabby Cat. And also the her friend, I think. Well, it's kind of a bit... There's kind of like a family link, but I won't go into it. There's like a family link, and his name is Tom. Tomcat, Tabby Cat, Tomcat. Really like that. I'm so ridiculous. But I really liked that. Basically what happens is Tabby, inherits. Tabby inherits some money off her beloved gran. And her gran said, you've always wanted to do something in regards to cats. I'd really love it if you use the money for that. So Tabby decides that she wants to open up this cat cafe with her partner, who isn't around at the moment. He's on a cruise, I think. So anyway, he has said that when he comes back, they'll open it together and manage it together, because Tabby has a chronic illness. I can't remember what it is. Fibromyalgia. I'm going to see if I can find it. The stupid thing is It's mentioned so many times, but it's been so long since I've read the book. I've forgotten it. How to say it. Like I said, it's mentioned quite a bit in this book. Fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, is that it? I'll put it on the screen. But basically, she has a proper chronic illness, and this really affects her life. And long story short, her partner decides he doesn't want to come back, so her whole opening up the cafe is thrown up into the air. She does open it up, and obviously the book is what follows ever after. Ever after? I don't know why I said that. The book is what follows after she opens the cafe. This one, I wasn't as behind it. I found the main character very, very fickle. And that annoyed me, because the whole point of the book is her opening this cafe, and every 5 seconds it feels like, oh, I don't know whether I should open the cafe. I understand she's got a chronic illness, absolutely, but it's kind of, if you're relying on other people to open it with you, that's a huge warning, you know. It's like, is this really the best thing for you? So she's really back and forth the whole time, and I kind of was, well, why bother then? Why are you doing it? Do something else. There is a romance in it. The romance is quite nice. There are certain times you're a bit like, I wish you hadn't have done that in regards to him. I won't go any further, I don't want to ruin it. It was, I don't want to get any haters on this. Look, with me, a Christmassy book is mostly got to be quite a happy book. There is a lot of mentions of the chronic illness, and I do understand, obviously, people have that in real life, and that is, it is good to be mentioned in books and TV shows and to raise awareness, absolutely. But for a Christmassy book, it kind of ruined the mood. It kind of ruined the Christmassy mood, the happy vibe, because she was obviously in quite a lot of pain throughout some of the book. And like I said, I do think that it's good to be mentioned here and there, but for me, maybe not in a Christmassy book. That was kind of my feeling, because it is a lot of the book. It's mentioned, basically. There's also a bit where something happens. I can't go into details, don't want to ruin it. And yet again, there is sadness in regards to cats. And that also put a real downer on it for me. I just want a happy book. This wasn't quite the happy Christmassy cat book that I was hoping for. It actually quite upset me. So yeah, it was okay. Not my favourite, absolutely not, by a country mile, but I don't think I'd recommend this one. As like I said, for me, a Christmassy book, I want to have the happy vibes over most of it. I can understand certain things, but there was kind of too much up in the airness, fickleness, a lot of talk about chronic illness, a lot, and obviously sadness. And there's a little bit in the book where, I can't spoil it, but there's a part in it, it's like, what happens is, by someone, you have absolutely no idea who it is. And it seemed a bit silly. That's all I'll say on the matter. So I think I rated it a 2.75. There are some good elements in it, but it's just not quite the Christmassy vibes that I wanted, to be honest. The next one was The Secret Santa Project by Tracy Bloom. Got it on the Kindle. Essentially, Jolene starts at the council kind of office, and she's really, really into the Christmas, like most young people are, I think. So she's really surprised they don't really do anything in the office in regards to the kind of Christmassy theme. So she suggests they do this Secret Santa, but as you do something to help someone out as opposed to spend money on a silly little gift. So it's like you kind of have to do it in secret, but you do something to help them out. And I really liked that. I thought that was quite a little new take on it. I don't know if other people do that in real life, but I thought it was better than, you know, the Secret Santa gift. Now, I would say the characters felt quite realistic. That's the good part. The bad part is I really wasn't that bothered, honestly. I wasn't that bothered. You kind of get what you expect with the book, which is they kind of help each other out. It's quite a happy book, which I suppose is quite good for Christmas. But yeah, there wasn't enough to interest me. There wasn't enough to interest me. And yeah, I think I just got bored. I just wanted to finish it. I wouldn't say there's anything that, you know, offended me or anything like that, but it was kind of mid-tier, and I knew that kind of as I was reading it. I was like, this isn't gonna go like a 5-star, and it was just, you know, there wasn't enough to interest me, basically. I gave it 2.75. So the next one was A Fairy Tale for Christmas by Chrissy Manby. The main character, I can't remember her name, Kirsty. The main character, Kirsty, has moved back with her boyfriend John because he's the director of like this panto. They call it Newts, New Bay Theatre Society. They're putting on a panto essentially. They were kind of like on a cruise ship. She was a singer, I think, or an actress. I want to say singer. And he's like the director there. So they've moved back. He got seasick a lot. So he didn't want to carry on. She moved with him. They haven't actually been together that long. So they moved back, and she's going to be Cinderella in the panto. He's going to be the director. And that's kind of the premise of the book. And yeah, so I'm just going to do my feelings on the book essentially, which is it really annoys me when the John character, her boyfriend, is such a rude misogynist. He's chauvinistic. He's just like, why would you be with this person? I know obviously you don't want, if they're going to break up, you don't want to root for the guy. I understand that, but it's like, why would you stay with that person? Anyway, that's how I feel. So obviously you don't want her to stay with him. There's a potential romance with someone else, and obviously it's very much centred around the panto. And I, without spoiling it, I can't think of much else to tell you apart from there's a potential romance. It wasn't my favourite. Yeah, and this was another one mid-tier. I knew it reading it, and when I say mid-tier, I mean it's not a terrible book. It's just like it's not special enough to be a higher marking one. My battery is running out, which is really irritating. The mark I'm going to give it is 2.75, which I seem to be giving a lot of these books. Yeah, I wasn't that interested in it, perfectly honest. So yeah. The next one I did was A Midwinter's Tale. Had this on the Kindle. I liked I'm going to think of a different word, but I liked the premise of the book. The main character, can't remember her name, she gets sent a note and a key, and all it says is, please look after her. And it's for someone she used to know years and years ago who was friends with her mum, and basically he's asking her to look after the cat and the cottage. The cottage is really far away. I think it's off the coast of, I want to say, Devon, possibly, somewhere like that. It's really far away. It's like an island off, so you have to get planes there, etc. And it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. The things I liked about this book were, there's like a little magical element. I don't think it's ever fully explained, but I don't feel like that's a big deal. It is what it is. There's like a little magical element. The cat is adorable, obviously, Mur, and you kind of, although it's mainly predictable, I didn't have an issue with that because it was also intriguing. There's a bit of a mystery, and the big seller for me basically was the cat and the magic, and that's what the book provided. I don't know, I really got into it, and I read it really quickly because it's a shorter book. I can't remember, I think it's under 300 pages, and yeah, I just really got into it. I really liked it. I can't even really describe why, but the main things for me, the cat and the magical element, and yeah, I really got into it. So I rated it a 4, and yeah, I really liked it. So my next one is Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogel. I read You Deserve Each Other, which is also by the same author, and everyone else that I have seen, like on YouTube, went crazy for it, saying this is such a good book, you need to read the book. I just happened to pick up the book. I hadn't seen those, but I didn't really like it. It wasn't, I couldn't get behind it, essentially. Anyway, so that's that book. So I was a bit like, am I going to like this book? Same author. Usually if you don't like one of their books, there's a reason, and it tends to follow in their previous books. Basically, Betty is kind of like from a famous family, and the family are very, very rich. They're very, very famous, and she's kind of gone off, and I think they're kind of got to make it on their own. She is not making it on her own. She is struggling. She has no money. She's very much a narcissist. She's not a nice person, and it's hilarious. I love it. She gets to a point where, I can't remember if she's been drinking a little bit, and she manages to play Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas, I think it is, backwards. And this is how Hall comes about. He's basically the holiday Christmas spirit, and he has to cheer her up. And when he cheers her up enough, he will disappear. He won't obviously need to be there anymore because she'll be cheered up enough. I loved the idea of the book. Different word for premise. I loved the idea of the book. So that's why I chose it. But I was also a bit like, I'm not sure if I'll like it, because I didn't particularly like the book by the same author before that I've read. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I could totally see this being like a holiday Christmas movie. Betty at the start is just so unlikable, and I wouldn't say I like unlikable characters generally, but she's really funny. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice. She's such an unlikable character. Hall is such a likable character. You kind of put him in the puppy dog theme that like a lot of other YouTubers quite like. He was lovely. He was absolute delight. And yeah, please pick it up. I think it's amazing. I was really surprised how much I liked it. And yeah, I think my rating was a 4.5, and I was really surprised how much I liked the book. I really liked the writing. I really liked the idea. I found it a really fresh idea. Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it if you picked it up. Okay, the next one, Maybe Next Christmas by Emma Hetherington. I don't have the book, it must have been Kindle. But I listened to it on audio. I really liked it. It had two different points of view. One is Bea and one is Ollie. They happened to meet in an airport, and they're both going back to Ireland for different reasons. Bea is going back because it's Christmas. She's going to spend the first Christmas, I think, for a while back in Ireland with her family. Ben is going back because his dad is not very well, so he's going back for that reason. They get on really well and really like each other, but Bea has a long-term boyfriend that she's planning to split up with, but they obviously don't do anything about it because she is at the time seeing someone. And basically throughout the book they kind of have chance encounters, and there's reasons why they aren't together. But one of the things I like about it, the writing is brilliant. I've read 2 of Emma's books in this video, really like her writing. You do really get the Christmassy feel from the books I've read, and you like the characters. Both the characters are really good characters. Ollie is really, really liking Bea. The downside of this particular book is Bea doesn't end her relationship with her long-term partner. That kind of happens organically, and to me it kind of felt like you should have ended it. You should have been the one to end it, because I don't know, it kind of felt a bit too easy that it ended the way it ended, so that the other people could eventually be together. I don't know if that's a spoiler. However, I've said it. Yeah, but I found that a downside to me with the character Bea. She should have just done it. She should have just bit the bullet. There you go. But yeah, so my main feelings on this book, really like the 2 main characters, the 2 points of view, and it was a nice book. There was a nice bit of romance in the book. There's also, it's not complete happy. There are elements, like I said, Ollie's dad has an illness, basically, so it's not all happy. I won't go any further. But the overall vibe of the book is just quite a really nice book. If that explains it enough, I would recommend this one if you want a kind of Christmassy, nice kind of book. I liked this one. So I gave it a 4.5 rating. Yeah, there we go. Right, so the next book I read was Make My Wish Come True by Fiona Harper. My battery died on my camera. Honestly, they just go so quick. But where I was I just started talking to you about Make My Wish Come True by Fiona Harper. Basically, Juliet is a single mum to 4 kids, and Gemma, her sister, is I want to say a assistant, like an assistant to the stars on film sets, essentially. So they both have very different lives, and they both kind of feel different ways about Christmas, about their place in the family. And so essentially what happens is Juliet, the mum to the 4 kids, is absolutely frazzled. She is very organised. She's got this book full of tickable things on to set up for Christmas, and Gemma's like really go with the flow. She just pops in to Juliet's house, basically, doesn't help out, doesn't really understand how stressful it is as a single parent with 4 kids, etc. But also, obviously, she has her own stresses in her life, and Gemma books herself like luxurious holiday for Christmas, because she doesn't really want to be involved in the whole stressful Christmas with her sister. Long story short, what happens is Gemma tells her sister Juliet to take her place, to go away. You're obviously incredibly stressed. I will look after the kids. You enjoy your Christmas away, have a bit of a break, and come back refreshed. So that's what happened. That is essentially what happens in the book. Obviously, you kind of know what's going to happen, as in people will see the different sides of different points of view from each other's point of view, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's essentially what happens in the book, but obviously there's loads of realistic things that happen in the book, I guess, as in family. You have certain issues with the children. Also, there are issues when Juliet actually goes on the holiday. But what I liked about the book is the descriptions when Juliet is away. You actually feel like you can kind of see it, the lovely holiday that she's gone on. You kind of get the vibe from it, and so obviously that's good writing. I liked it. It wasn't obviously a typical, you kind of got to put aside your skepticism, I would guess, in regards to, would your sister really give you like a 5-star holiday retreat? Give that up? No, I wouldn't. But no, I did like the book, and I rated it a 4.25. Yeah. Okay, so the next one, One Day in December by Josie Silver on the Kindle. But basically what happens is the main character, Laurie, one day happens to be on a bus, and she's just looking out. It's obviously kind of wintry time, and she sees this chap who's sitting at a bus stop reading, and she just gets that lightning bolt that this chap is hers, you know, he's the one, kind of thing. She stays on the bus, he doesn't get on the bus. After that, she tells her friend about it, and they kind of keep looking for this chap throughout the year. Then what happens is there's kind of like, I think it's the next year, her best friend throws a party, invites her new boyfriend, who, surprise, surprise, is the bus stop chap. His name is Jack. And I think it's kind of like their lives over a 10-year period, I think. So it's not all a case of instantaneous, essentially. But Laurie was obviously really into Jack. She kind of was a bit obsessed with him. And then her best friend's new boyfriend turns up, and it's Jack. That's obviously the start of the book. Like I said, there's kind of like a 10-year period of their lives, and I really liked that aspect of it. I thought it was, you know, the writing of it really went into their lives. You did feel like they're very realistic characters. However, the problem with having realistic characters is sometimes they're not the best characters. I wasn't 100% behind Jack. He had some flaws, let's put it like that. I'm not saying he was a horrible man, but I kind of like couldn't 100% get behind him. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. Like I said, he did come across as like a real person, so I'm kind of putting it, with your male characters, you tend, well, I do, you kind of like want to put them on a pedestal. They're lovely, they're polite, they love you from the start, you know, so that might be a me thing. But yeah, I couldn't get behind Jack personally. And also with some of these books, I know obviously the whole point of these books is that there's like the conflict, but I really just wish sometimes they just go, oh yeah, and tell their friend, their boyfriend, whoever, this little bit of information, and then it might go in a different direction, but there's always a secret, isn't there? So yeah, that's the one couple of things that for me won't kind of like make it a favourite of mine. I did really like the book. I did really like the writing. Like I said, the main thing for me, I wasn't 100% behind Jack as the male romance prospect, but I did really like the book overall. And yeah, there are some sadder themes, definitely. So if grief and death kind of might trigger you, might make you upset, you might not like this book, because there is quite a few instances, I think, in the book. But I did really like the book. I rated it a 4.5. I would recommend it. It's not your typical kind of candy floss, no substance, Christmassy book. There is definitely substance behind this book. Yeah, I really liked it, basically. The next one, we're getting to the end. We are getting to the end. The Night Before Christmas, Scarlett Bailey. Basically, Lydia and her boyfriend have been invited to their friends. They've just opened, I want to say like a bed and breakfast, but kind of a bit of a posh one in the Lake District. They're going to be like the first customers, but obviously they're going as friends, to kind of work out all the kinks of the big house, essentially. And so she goes with her partner, her boyfriend, Stephen. But before they go, she finds a engagement ring. And instead of feeling excited about it, she feels the complete opposite. So when they get there, obviously some of her other friends turn up, and one of her female friends has brought along her new boyfriend, who Lydia knows from the past. I won't go any more into that. But obviously that makes it slightly awkward. But they don't mention it to each other. They act like they've never met each other. And yeah, basically the premise of the book is who's she gonna kind of end up with, because there's also another chap that she quite likes. Basically, with this book, I wasn't into it. She was very fickle about who she liked. I know obviously kind of that's the whole theme, but to me it was just a bit too fickle for my liking. Again, the secrets, there's always the secrets, isn't there? Yeah, it wasn't my favourite. There were good parts to it, but I wasn't that into it. So I rated it a 3. Still a nice Christmassy kind of theme. There's like snow and the lovely Lake District. If you've ever been, I have, it's lovely. But yeah, for me, it wasn't my favourite. So last one, This Christmas, again by Emma Hetherington. Basically, Rose and Charlie want to be alone for Christmas. They don't want to spend time with their family, or they can't spend time with their family. So they want to be alone. They both separately book this holiday cottage, and obviously they both turn up and they're like, oh, it's been double booked. Essentially, that's what the start of the story is. And they kind of agree, they're kind of snowed in, and they both kind of agree, well, you know, it's a bit tricky. You can't really go elsewhere. There's nowhere else you could book. So we'll stay together separately in the cottage. There's only but one bedroom. So one sleeps on the sofa and one sleeps in the bed. So that's kind of what the book is. The theme is. Obviously there are themes of grief and death. Again, so if that's going to upset you, it might not be the book for you. And there is separation from a loved one, which is quite sad as well. So it's not all happy, but it is very Christmassy. And you really do get kind of the Christmassy vibes and the cottage, the small cottage kind of vibes. It's really nice. Again, I said this before with her previous book in this video, really like her writing. You really do get kind of the Christmassy vibes from her writing, and both the characters you really like. They are a bit odd. One of them is a bit odd in the start because he really wants to be kind of alone, but he gets past that, so we'll forgive him for that. But yeah, I really liked this book again. Really liked the writing, liked the characters, got the Christmassy vibes. I rated it a 4. So there we go. That is, I think, the 17 books that I read. I'm completely Christmassy booked out, if that's a word. But I had a lot of fun reading them, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I would say probably my favourite ones are physically, the ones I have, The Christmas Wish by Lindsay Kelk, really funny. Really liked the humour, liked the characters, got the Christmassy vibes, liked the different Groundhog Days because you didn't get the same kind of theme every day from the Groundhog thing. Really liked it. Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogel. Again, I loved the fact she was a really unlikable character at the start. The her holiday spirit was such a puppy dog, absolutely lovely. Everyone kind of falls in love with him. The ridiculousness of the magic, which is brilliant. I don't know if I actually mentioned that, but basically, obviously, there's magic involved. He is the holiday spirit, and he has to go when she's cheered up enough. And obviously, there's a bit of a she doesn't want him to go. What happens kind of thing. Really was surprised by this. Really liked it. It was great. Yeah, also really liked Midwinter's Tale with Myrrh, the cat, the magic. You've got the Christmassy vibes from it. Really liked that one. And also One Day in December by Josie Silver. More a longer story over the 10-year period. But I really liked the writing. And I felt like it was quite realistic and the characters were quite realistic. So I really liked that one too. So that's the wrap up of the numerous books I have read over, well, for the Christmas period, let's say. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I would love if you liked and subscribed. That would be amazing. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.